Hi class! This week we are going to work on contour line drawings. A contour line is any line of an object when you draw it that makes up the main part. So it's the outline and any major details of it. It's not shading though. We are not going to shade our pictures this week. So the first step that we need to do is pick an object. Pick an object that doesn't have a simple shape. Like I explained in the project overview, I don't want you to pick something like a water glass or a book, something that is really simple. I think a water glass you could probably draw in like 4 lines. I want you to choose something that's more complicated. For mine, I'm going to draw a shoe. Backpacks also work really well as a piece of clothing that might be crumpled up on the floor. Anything that has a little bit of complexity to it will work for this project. We will be doing 3 drawings total. The first one is a blind contour. A blind contour drawing is one where you don't look at your paper while you're drawing. As tough as it may be, do not look at your paper. The purpose of this exercise is to get you to really look at your object and figure out how things line up with each other and draw those without looking at your paper. It's a little challenging, but it doesn't take very long. Mine only took about, I think, a little less than 2 minutes, so I'm not even speeding up this video to show you. To get set up, you're going to set your object in front of you, place your paper in front of you, and then start drawing. You can do it with a pencil or a pen, it doesn't matter, as long as you don't look at your paper. You're allowed to pick up your pencil and start at a new spot while you're drawing. It is a little tricky to get things lined up, and at the end of it, your picture will not be perfect, and that's okay. That's not the purpose of this exercise. Another thing that I want you to think about is try to draw the picture bigger than your hand. Mine took up about maybe a fourth or a third of my sketchbook paper. I want you to try to do this yourself. Don't draw anything super tiny. That doesn't really help you later on with this project. If you draw bigger, then you're going to get used to drawing those curves and the lines of your object really well. And if you take more time than me, that's totally okay. Take as much time as you need, but just know that this drawing is not going to look perfect, and that's okay. I just want you to focus on getting all the major parts of it, all the major contour lines. So here's my boot when I was done drawing it. As you can see, it's not correct. That's okay. The second picture is an example of what I don't want to see. I didn't include any of the major lines. It's a tiny drawing. I want you to draw bigger than your hand and have all the major contour lines. Alright, so the second part of your project is a continuous contour drawing. A continuous contour drawing is where you can look at your object, but you can't pick up your pen or pencil while you draw it. For this video, I'm doing mine in a pen, just so you can see it a little bit easier as I go. Again, I've studied my object. I'm looking for where things line up and where they end, how they look in relation to each other, and I'm figuring out, even before I draw, how I can get from point A to point B without having unnecessary lines. When you're done, you shouldn't have a bunch of lines going every which way trying to get all of the parts of your object included. I'm making a plan in my head about how I can move around the object without picking up my pen and how it will make sense and look correct when I'm done, or pretty much correct. It's not going to look exactly correct for this one either, just like it didn't for your blind drawing, but it will look better than that one because you can look at it. As you work, try not to go over your lines over and over just to get from one point to another. Try to make a plan in your head, like I said before you work, so that when you actually draw, you're not going over your lines and you're not making unneeded lines. So take your time with this one. Really look where things line up and match up with each other, how far away they are or how close they are to other things in your object. That will help you to really study it and get your proportions as correct as they can be without erasing anything. Alright, so you made it to the final drawing that you have to do for this week. It's just a regular contour line drawing. For a contour line drawing, you're going to draw all the major lines, or the contour lines, that make up the shape and the details of your object. So for my boot, I'm drawing the outline, the buckles, the zipper, and all the folds that I can see in my boot. This time I'm using a pencil, and you should too, because you can finally erase. Yay! Less pressure, right? If you see something wrong with your drawing, erase it. Draw it again. It's okay. I sped this up really fast because it took me a while to get everything right and how I wanted it. And just like with your other drawings, look at your object, take your time, make sure things line up where they're supposed to line up. Sometimes it helps to think about what you thought when you were drawing your continuous line drawing. Did you think that you drew something too close to something else? Like, did I draw my buckles too close to each other? Maybe they're not that close. So on this drawing, I'm going to draw them further apart and really pay attention to where they're placed on my boot in relation to each other and in relation to the bottom of the boot and the top of the boot so that everything lines up in the end. For me, I kind of like to get the big picture drawn out first and then add all the tiny details. Because if you work on a tiny detail and then figure out it's in the wrong spot, you've spent all that time drawing and then you just have to erase it because it doesn't line up or look correct with the rest of your object. So start big and go small. Another thing to think about is when you step back from your drawing, does the form look correct even though you can't shade? Do the lines tell you where things are folded over or overlapping each other? Those lines are important. All those contour lines are going to tell us what that object actually looks like with as much information as we can have without shading. So take your time with this one and have fun with it.